Well, according to our Akashic reader, we do go way back in time, but we're not going to get to that yet.
Yes.
That's the second part of this. The first part is the stuff that everyone knows you for. It's the stuff that I knew you for, and that's food and that's fitness. And I'm such a stickler for form, and I'm like, your form has always been incredible. I'm like, this girl knows what she's doing.
Yes, I love hearing that.
So I'm curious how you got into, was it food first? Was it fitness first? What was the impetus to really launch you into wellness?
Damn, I've never used the word impetus. I'm going to add that to my vocabulary now. So thank you. Learning so many things and so many words from you. So I was definitely into fitness first. I grew up hating myself, hating my body, hating just like everything about myself. It was so sad. And so the first thing that I was introduced to was fitness. And I started working out in high school, comfortable in a gym. And so I'd go run Red Rocks Amphitheater just to get outside. And then in college, I would do, 2 hours on the Stairmaster when you're like, you're like hanging on.
I would do that on the elliptical
Yes.
or something like that. And
Yes.
I laugh at people now, but with love, but I did it. I can only laugh at them because I've done it.
Yeah. And
you don't know what else to do.
Yeah, you don't. And the weight room felt so intimidating. It was all guys. So I was too scared to do that. I didn't feel in shape. So I would just do elliptical, Stairmaster, bike. And then in college, I met a guy. I started dating this guy, and he was doing CrossFit workouts. And so he introduced me to CrossFit. I went on CrossFit.com. I couldn't do a push-up. I couldn't do a pull-up.
What year was this then?
This would have been 2008.
Dang, you got into CrossFit OG days.
Oh, man.
They were still doing it at the ranch back then.
Yes, they were. And I saw these CrossFit females that they'd put a picture every day with the workout back in the day. They'd put a picture up and it was these incredibly strong females. And so I couldn't do any of those movements by myself. So I started going to a gym where I couldn't find a little corner, and I would do push-ups on my knees, and then I would do the assisted dip machine and the assisted pull-up and start building up strength, building confidence in the gym. And then before I knew it, I was at the rec center at college, and I was, doing overhead squats, and I was doing double unders and ring dips, and it just kind of grew from there. But what really stuck with me so much with CrossFit was CrossFit used to have sectionals, then regionals, then the games.
Oh.
And so I went to a sectionals in town. I volunteered at this event. And all the women were so kind to each other. There's so much camaraderie and kindness and cheering each other on. And I saw every body type too. There were really skinny women. There were really thick women, bigger, there was just every shape and size. And you thought the woman who looked the most in shape, quote unquote, in shape, would do the best. And then it was a completely different person. And I just loved that about CrossFit. It wasn't about how you looked, it was how you performed.
Yeah.
And the weight you got and the PR you got and the time you got.
Yeah.
I just loved those new numbers instead of what was on the scale.
Totally.
And so CrossFit just hooked me in. It got me. I loved it. I joined a CrossFit gym in college. At the end of college, I started competing. And when I started competing, that's when I got into food. And CrossFit was really big into the zone diet back in the day. Yes.
Really?
The zone diet.
I only know Paleo and CrossFit to be boyfriend, girlfriend, but I had no idea it was the zone.
So I think Rob Wolf was really into zone back then.
Oh.
And so they had a whole diet page that was all about zone diet. And have you ever heard of zone diet?
Of course, yeah.
So blocks.
40, 30, 30.
Yes.
Right, 40% protein, 30% carbs, 30% fat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're getting, your 3 blocks, or one block is 3 almonds. One block is 1 macadamia nut. I still remember these things because I would pack little containers of my almonds for the day.
Here's my box block of almonds. Here's my box block of chicken.
Yes. And I would measure out everything. And that was the first introduction to healthy food.
Yeah.
My boyfriend at the time was jacked. I'm like, why don't I look like you if I do the same workouts as you?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, your diet is shit. You have a terrible diet. And I was eating the worst food that you could eat, waffles for breakfast. I would eat literally animal crackers, like the frosted coated animal crackers.
Yum, with the sprinkles.
Yes. With frosting, Danica.
With frosting.
With
wow.
frosting.
You're an overachiever.
I am so such an
I already know
overachiever.
that. I know that about you, especially now. But
when I go hard into something like eating bad, I go hard. And so I got into the zone diet and I started to lose weight and saw my body change. And I saw my performance increase. My numbers in the gym started going up strength-wise. And I just felt better. For once in my life, I didn't have a stomach ache. I didn't know what that was like. I just thought everybody had stomach aches at all times.
Right.
And gas and indigestion. It was just part of life. And once I did zone, that all ended. And then CrossFit started getting into paleo.
Yep.
So I was like, CrossFit, I see you. I'm in it. I started getting into paleo. Again, I felt so much better, cutting out grains, cutting out gluten, cutting out dairy. My body just felt so good.
Yeah.
I would just wake up with so much energy.
For sure.
And so I competed in CrossFit for years. And then while I was competing, I was creating recipes because I didn't know how to cook at all. So I just like...
Wait a minute. You're creating recipes, but you didn't know how to cook? Those things don't really go together.
That's true. So
creating recipes is really hard, even for people to think they can cook.
It's true. Well, I was like, okay.
Overachiever.
I have to learn how to have banana bread still.
Got it.
And so then it's like, oh, you can have almond flour. You can have coconut flour.
And that was back when that stuff was really hard to get.
Yes.
Like it's only more recently that you can find coconut flour, almond flour, all the different flours and the different fat, even ghee. I mean, like, I don't even know if it was common to find ghee and ghee, because ghee doesn't have the milk in it. So stuff like that was even not even that common. So
coconut oil. I would order a lot of stuff online. There was a website called Tropical Traditions or nuts.com. So I would order stuff online.
Oh, yeah.
But Whole Foods would usually have almond flour, but it was like, I couldn't imagine. It was so expensive, especially where I was at in life. I'm like, how do I afford this? But I ate a lot of nut butter. I baked a lot of things with nut butter. It was like almond butter was my survival back then.
Yeah.
And so I started learning how to cook. I would look at magazines, and something that caught my eye, I'm like, well, how do I make that paleo? And so I would start seeing how they paired ingredients together, like spices together or seasonings, how they seared a steak. I would kind of read up on that. And I watched the cooking channel nonstop back then.
So did I.
Yes. And you learn so much from watching other people do it.
Thanks, Emerald Lagasse. You started it all. Bam.
Yes. And like Giada and even Rachel Ray back in the day. Like, her stuff was so simple.
She's not even professionally trained. You know that?
Yes.
She didn't go to culinary school.
She just figured it out on
that
her
just
own.
Shows like how much you can learn on the fly and get really good at stuff
and do it constantly over and over. You're going to continue to get better at it with anything in life. And I was sending all of my friends recipes, like texting them recipes or emailing them recipes that I had made up, because I would bring like these no-bake cookies that I made, or protein cookies. And they're like, well, how do you make these? And so I text them or email them. And then someone one day was like, you should start a blog. And I had no idea what a blog was. I had never even heard the word. It was so new back then, back in 2011. And my friend literally was like, I'll just help you set up this like free website. And just like got the domain and helped me put up this little crappy website. And I just started Pale Omg.